Welcome to A Time for Change, everyone. I'm Alexis Christoforous here with Marquise Francis. We're only a week and a half in, but so far 2022 is not being very kind to crypto. The price of Bitcoin, which is of course the granddaddy of digital currency, is off to its worst annual start since the dawn of crypto, currently trading just below 40% from its all-time high of nearly $69,000 last year. And analysts are bracing for a lot more volatility ahead. But true believers are not backing off, and more of them are women. Joining us now to talk about women in crypto are two trailblazers. Fang is breaking barriers as one of the only female CEOs in the crypto sphere. She is the chief executive of Okcoin, one of the world's fastest growing crypto platforms. We're also joined by Randi Zuckerberg, entrepreneur, investor, and CEO of Zuckerberg Media. Welcome to you both, and thanks so much for joining us. Randi, I want to start with you because you're the inaugural member of Okcoin's board of advisors. I know that one of your primary goals in that role is having 50% of the platform have a customer base that is female by 2025. Give us a feel for where you are now and how you hope to achieve that goal.
Absolutely. Well, first of all, thank you so much for having us on the show today. And you're right, crypto is on sale right now. And if you're anything like me, for any of the women out there, you know how to shop a good sale. So I thank you, crypto, for this early in the year sale that you're having. For me, I've spent the last 15 years fighting an uphill battle in tech where I've routinely been the only woman in the room in almost any company, any setting, any industry. And so for me, when I first started to get excited about crypto and Web3 and this space, I saw it as an opportunity for women to get in on the ground floor. And instead of pushing a boulder uphill in traditional industries, why not just start from the beginning? Currently, the state of crypto, it is very male dominated, as in most tech, most finance. But you mentioned we have Hong, an amazing female crypto CEO, and we have a strong vision ahead of recruiting many more women into crypto.
So Hong, I understand 24% of your customer base is now women. Traditionally, and I'm sure I'm not telling you anything you don't already know, women have historically been more risk averse than men when it comes to their overall investment strategy. Crypto is a pretty volatile asset. How do you work to change sort of the mindset of women when it comes to investing in cryptocurrencies?
Yeah, I think the two biggest hurdles, one is perception, the other is education. Perception being that in crypto, I think the perception is that it's a male-dominated industry. But the matter of fact is, if I look around on my team and also looking at a lot of the friends that I've got to know over the last few years in crypto, there are a lot of female thought leadership and also a lot of significant female participants and contributors in this space, Randi included. So I think it's really about changing that perception that female is not really visible in crypto. And the matter of fact that there are a lot of female contributors and leaders in this space. We just need to give them a lot more voice to change that perception. And then secondly, I think it's about education. And that education applies to people regardless of whether they're male or female, because the biggest thing about crypto is that it's actually changing the way you look at certain things. It's changing your mental framework, looking at money, looking at how people interact with each other, how organizations are incentivized and individuals incentivized to coordinate. It is a big difference from our historical paradigm. To get there, it takes time. It takes a lot of learning and takes a lot of time like this where market is volatile and you actually have to put your thoughts and assumptions and your learnings to test and come to the right conclusion. So I think it takes time, and that's obvious. But we, as a industry participant, would like to do a little bit more to encourage that learning experience and help people to see that it's actually, once you get across that curve and see what Bitcoin is really about, it can be short-term volatile, but long-term it holds value over time.
Randi, I'd love to understand how you're approaching things, even like NFTs, another asset where we're seeing few women actually tip their toe. Yesterday I interviewed Shark Tank investor Kevin O'Leary, who told me he's now a crypto convert, but he actually believes the NFT market is a larger, or will be a larger, addressable market than cryptocurrencies. What is your involvement, if any, in NFTs, and how do we get women involved there?
Yes, I'm so glad you asked that. I'm a huge NFT collector. And I think what's unique about my NFT collection is that every single piece that I've collected has been created by a female artist or a female leader of the project. And I'm so glad you mentioned it, because I think NFTs are a fantastic gateway to get more women into crypto. I think when we think about cryptocurrency, we think that the only thing that you can do is buy and trade and sell. But what has really drawn me into crypto are so many of the things that we do naturally in business and our lives. Collectibles, community, identity, buying art, buying music, things like that, that are just such a natural extension of what we're already doing in our daily lives. So I think for anyone out there who's a newcomer into crypto, NFTs are a great way to dip your toe in and really learn about the industry in a deeper way.
Hong, I want to get back to a point you touched on just a moment ago, and that's sort of the idea that people getting into crypto are now seeing it as a longer term play. When did you start to see that change among buyers, where it's not just in and out, but people are seeing the intrinsic value crypto may have for them as a long-term investment?
We have been seeing a lot of hodlers on our platform over the last 2 years, and that the hodler percentage kept increasing. Actually, we see a 400% increase of Bitcoin hodlers on our platform over last year, and 300 plus hodler increase on our platform for Ethereum. So that's definitely in play, but it doesn't. Many times the reality comes in different shades. And you may have customers who hodl certain assets and then trade in others. You may also have customers who hodl a certain asset in a certain portion and then trade a piece of it, depending on market changes. So that always is part of what we see in customer behavior. But I think ultimately, when you have market situations like this is where people put their holdings to test and start to change their way of thinking. And if you actually zoom out a little bit more to see the crypto history, that actually played over and over again, 2006, 17, and 18, when there is a bull market and bear market. That's when a lot of newcomers actually either left or stay on to become believers. And the same thing happened before that. So I think different cycles like this in the market actually create little windows for people to quote unquote convert into believers.
I know that Okcoin recently published what you're calling a state of cryptoverse report, and there were some interesting industry trends in there. Randi, I'm wondering what sort of your big takeaways were. I saw that young people, women, and developing nations are the biggest growth drivers, or at least were last year. Do you see that trend continuing?
Absolutely. I think that in the United States, we've been lucky to be able to have a degree of skepticism around crypto, because in general, you can trust the value of your money, the banking system. But there are so many places around the world where you can't, where thinking about creative and alternate forms of currency are crucial, not only just a nice to have. And so I think that was driving a lot of the trends last year and will certainly continue into this year. I'm also very excited about the launch of a lot of tokens that have social impact, that are tied to nonprofits, that are tied to causes. I think this is the year that we'll start to see people really thinking about the tokens and the cryptocurrency that they're investing in, not just in how much money it's going to make them, but in also some of the broader impact.
And Hong, would just love your take on what we're seeing happening with cryptocurrencies here. I mean, I know it's early in the year. There were some folks who put Bitcoin at $100,000 in the next few months. Right now, it's at about 42, given back a lot of its recent gains. At the end of the day, Are some of these altcoins going to go away and we're going to see more money sort of centralized in a few coins like Bitcoin, like Ethereum? And what is your outlook for the price of Bitcoin this year?
Yeah, I think first of all, volatility is going to be expected, and that's always the case in crypto. So anyone who gets into the space need to be thoughtful about how they allocate their wealth in different assets in the space. Number two, I think we will continue to see debundling of a Bitcoin price and other crypto assets, given the fact that different crypto assets, including NFTs, are developing different use cases and attracting different communities. So I think it will take on different path as they continue to move forward. Bitcoin is still continue to be the king in the space. Compared to other crypto assets in the space, it's probably lower risk than many others out there. But again, the value propositions of those are very different. And then thirdly, I think we will see continued development and building activities in this space, either in Bitcoin, on Bitcoin, alongside Bitcoin, and also in Web3. A lot of infrastructure still need to be developed for the NFT and Web3 to really take off. So we'll continue to see that going on for this year.
All right. And lastly, Randi, what excites you in the crypto space for this year? And in terms of your own portfolio, can you share with us, what kind of coins are you holding at the moment?
Sure. Well, I'm excited that we're just at the beginning. I know, we've been talking about many of these currencies for years, but it feels like we're at the beginning of a new shift in finance and the internet. I have not honestly felt this enthusiasm since 2007, 2008 at the start of Web 2. So I think this is a great time for anyone to really explore, to dive into NFTs and cryptocurrency. My portfolio right now, it is very NFT heavy, which means very Ethereum heavy in my wallet. But I'm a Bitcoin believer as well. I think it's a great time to get in at this price. And I like to hold a lot of the alt tokens, and I like to be involved in some of those communities as well. So I highly recommend having a diversified portfolio in crypto or in anything that you do.
Yeah, more and more, right? It's acting like a regular asset, right? Where we have different classes. All right, Randi Zuckerberg of Zuckerberg Media, thank you so much. Fang, CEO of Okcoin, we appreciate your time today. And don't go anywhere, because coming up next here on A Time for Change, an ex-banker who is now teaching women of color about crypto.
Welcome back to A Time for Change. Here's an interesting, even shocking fact. According to a recent Harris poll, nearly 1 in 5 Black American adults owns cryptocurrency. That's right, nearly 1 in 5. And for many, crypto presents a promising way to build wealth and finally get a leg up on a system they felt shortchanged by in the past. Our next guest has worked both sides of the aisle, first as a banker and government regulator, and now as a Bitcoin consultant and founder of Guidefi, a fintech platform for women and people of color. Charlene Fadirepo, thank you so much for joining us today. And just to jump right into things, I listed all of the jobs you currently have and previously had, but you're also an author of children's book and one of the writers of the Bitcoin and the American Dream. So let's focus on that one for a moment. How do you see Bitcoin and crypto as a tool for social justice?
Absolutely. Well, thank you for the opportunity to be here with you here, Marquise. Bitcoin is absolutely a tool for social justice. If you think about Black Americans, we believe that Bitcoin allows Black Americans to build generational wealth, but not just Black Americans, Latino Americans, the LGBT community, and Indigenous communities. It allows the ability to build wealth, and these are communities that have traditionally been left out of the discriminatory banking system that we have today.
Mm-hmm. And last year, you said 2021 was a breakout year for Bitcoin because major banks were investing in it and corporations were buying in. So I'm curious, given the volatility in 2022 thus far, do you still have faith in the future of crypto and Bitcoin?
Absolutely, absolutely. So, I think that whenever I get that question, I ask people to think about the big picture, and the big picture is so bright for Bitcoin. If you look at Bitcoin and a 10-year basis, they had annualized returns of nearly 200%. And if you look at Bitcoin in the past 2 years, so this pandemic era, Bitcoin had returns of roughly 400%. And in that same period, you saw gold had a return of roughly 15%, and the S&P delivered 42%. So those are amazing returns for any kind of asset class, and incredible returns for Bitcoin. And then in terms of looking forward, what we expect to see this year, 2021, is regulatory clarity. 2020, this past year was an incredible year for regulators to start thinking about Bitcoin. You saw the FDIC and the Fed work together for interagency guidance, and we expect to see more and more movement and more regulatory clarity. And as we know, when regulatory clarity is here, that builds trust, that builds security, and that will encourage more people to invest, and hopefully more institutions to invest.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, as a Bitcoin consultant, is there a piece of advice that you find yourself repeating over and over to clients?
Absolutely. So I think Bitcoin is a different financial system, right? It encourages people to be their own bank, which encourages you to have a level of financial responsibility. So you have to consider self-custody to protect your Bitcoin. You have to be intentional about how you're transferring your Bitcoin. There are all of these skills that you need to learn if you want to be an avid crypto investor.
Mm-hmm. And obviously, as someone experienced in the world of finance, you still couldn't find an ideal financial advisor for your family a couple of years ago. It's a big reason why you started and created Guidefi. So tell me a little bit more about the app and the full inspiration behind it.
Absolutely. So Guidefi is a company. We're a fintech platform. We connect Black women with financial advisors and financial coaches. And I started that company out of necessity. Like Marquise pointed out, I had a really hard time finding a financial advisor for my family. And when I asked my friends, I recognized that they were not using financial advisors because they had a hard time as well. And so we wanted to create this platform to make it easier for Black women and other women of color to find access to financial planning, financial coaching, and other financial education sources.
Mm-hmm. And I'd love for you to expand. I love the fact that you're focusing specifically on women of color. Why was this so intentional for you?
Well, women of color are the fastest growing group of entrepreneurs in the country. And also it was the group or the community that I was most familiar with. We're so focused on taking women from financial health to financial wellness to hopefully financial independence. And going back to Bitcoin, we believe Bitcoin and investing in Bitcoin is going to be a huge part of that story for the average Black woman and the average woman of color.
Mm-hmm. And I'm curious, given your background in more of a traditional space, I'm curious, what are some of the things you've heard from critics that maybe say you're wrong? What are some of those misnomers?
You know what? There's so much FUD in the crypto and Bitcoin space, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. There are a lot of people that they say that Bitcoin is not truly decentralized. They say that it's an asset bubble. But, Marquise, what we find is that most people haven't taken the time to really understand the origins of Bitcoin as an asset class and look at the return profile. I mean, you cannot beat a 400% two-year return profile in any asset class. And that's why it was so important for us to write Bitcoin and the American Dream, and also my children's book, Sade Satoshi's. We believe there's a huge gap in information knowledge. And one of the things that's really important about the Bitcoin and American Dream book is that the audience of that book is very different. It is actually targeted for elected leaders, for lawmakers, and community organizers. We really wanted to make sure that there was a body of knowledge for that community to make good decisions. And then for Sade Satoshi's, I've written Sade Satoshi's because I'm trying to empower Bitcoin families. I want families and parents to be able to teach Bitcoin to their children because Bitcoin is a tool to fix many of the monetary problems that we have in this world.
Appreciate that. I'm still a little bit stuck on FUD, fear, uncertainty, and doubt. I think my next Yeah, my next conversation with my girlfriend, I think I'm going to bring that up. What are your FUDs? So one of the things I want to bring up, I read in a Medium article from a couple years ago. You wrote about the both exhilarating and terrifying 30 days since you left working for the Federal Reserve. Obviously, this was in 2019 before the pandemic started. But I'm curious, what has the last 2 years been like? And what would you tell others about taking that leap of faith that you took?
I love this question. It has been an exhilarating and fantastic ride. I think the journey of an entrepreneur is a journey that's not for everybody, but it is an amazing journey. And for me, it was one of the best career decisions I could have made. I encourage anyone thinking about entrepreneurship to really to lean into that thinking. I think walking in your purpose and your passion is something that's amazing. I think that if you're a person of color and you're thinking about entrepreneurship, just know that you have the ability to see problems that others can't see, and you can solve those problems. And we need those great ideas to make this world a better place. So I think it's so important. And I'm just excited. I'm excited that I get a chance to do this every day for my work. I love being able to support the financial lives and dreams of women. I love to be able to pour into and empower Black women. This is an amazing time for this brand new financial system. And I'm excited that more people of color and more Black people, more of the LGBT community, more people from indigenous communities are interested in investing in Bitcoin. I truly believe Bitcoin is the future of finance. It's the future of money, and everybody needs to get on board so we can push early adoption the way it needs to be so that these communities can avoid the pitfalls and the barriers of our current financial system.
Great. You're excited. I'm excited too. Charlene Fadirepo, thank you so much for joining us today. Coming up, the U.S. Mint has begun distributing quarters featuring a well-known poet and activist. Find out who right after the break.
Welcome back to A Time for Change. We've got some good news now about some good old-fashioned U.S. currency. The United States Mint has begun shipping the first quarter to feature a Black woman. One side of the new 25-cent coin features the late Maya Angelou, the legendary poet, author, and social activist. The coin went into circulation this week. It's the first in a series of quarters designed to celebrate trailblazing American women. Now, 4 additional new coins will roll out this year, commemorating other female pioneers. And in a statement, U.S. Secretary of Treasury Janet Yellen said the redesigns offer, quote, a chance to say something about our country, what we value, and how we've progressed as a society. It's worth noting here, a spruced up image of George Washington remains on the heads side of the coin. There's a little something for all you coin collectors out there. And that's it for this week's A Time for Change. For Marquise Francis, I'm Alexis Christoforous. Thanks so much for being with us. But stay with us. Lots more ahead on Yahoo Finance Live, including in the next hour, Tesla's billion-dollar Austin factory is about to go online, what it means for the EV race, and we take a look at what's next for Disney. Stay with us.